Today we are going to get some clay and roll out a slab so that we can create a slab bowl. So what I'm doing here is I am making sure that my bowl has plastic or saran wrap ready to go. This is going to help keep our clay wet so that the next time we use it, we can add our details onto it. So I'll take my lump of clay and I am flattening it into a cookie shape, patting it down, squeezing it in my hands. And now you're gonna see me starting to roll it out. And I'm being mindful not to roll all the way to the end of my clay slab. And the goal here is to create an even slab. And it should be about the thickness of a pencil. I am rolling in different directions to make sure that my slab remains as circular as possible. It's not gonna be perfect, and that's okay. But you can see me kind of lifting up the rolling pin and putting it in all different directions. Again, the goal is to make sure the ends of the slab are not super thin. You want it to be about an even thickness all around. And you'll see me here going ahead and checking the side. I'm flipping it over to make sure everything's nice and even. And again, double checking that the sides are not too thin, not too thick. Once they're about the thickness of a pencil, then I am ready to put it into the bowl. Once it's nice and even, I'm going to carefully pick it up, and very, very carefully, you can see me starting to maneuver the clay so it's almost like a cone shape coming into the bowl. It takes a little bit of effort practicing. See, you can see here that I had to readjust my plastic. I'm making sure that it's really aligned with the bottom of the bowl. You want to be careful here because you really don't want to tear the clay. So I'm putting that back in, being really careful with it, and I'm trying again. And I will carefully place it right inside, tucking in some areas that are going to overlap, which you'll see in a moment. As I'm pushing the clay in, I'm making sure it's touching the bottom of the bowl, again, being really careful not to rip my clay. There are going to be some areas that are overlapping, and my goal today is going to be to blend that into the side to create an even thickness around the entire bowl. In a moment, you'll see me trimming off the excess clay. So I'm using a clay tool here, and I'm just kind of taking it and running it around the edge, carefully using my hands to tear off any excess clay. Once the excess clay is off, I am continuing to smush it into the side of the bowl. Again, I do not want the ends of this bowl, or really any part of it, to be too thin. If it's too thin, it will crack. So I'm pushing in the areas that are too thick, and I want the thickness to be about the size of a pencil. No thinner than that, otherwise as it dries, it's gonna crack. Now you'll see here I transitioned into using a damp sponge to help me smooth away any imperfections inside and help me take away some of those lines and cracks where it's starting to overlap. This sponge is damp, it's not soaking wet. You do not want the inside of your bowl to have like a puddle of water. If your clay is too wet, that will also cause it to crack. So my sponge is damp and I'm spreading the water out so that it can help me smooth out any imperfections inside of my bowl. Notice how I'm turning the bowl too as I go, making sure to get even pressure along the entire surface. As I progress through this, you're gonna see me really starting to focus on evening out the very top of the bowl. Remember that when this dries, it's going to be very strong and solid, so you don't want any like pointy parts. So I'm going in and just cleaning up the edges with my clay tools. There's a variety of different types of clay tools that can help you with this part, so experiment with them and use what you feel is most comfortable. And remember, throughout this entire process, you're evening out the sides, but it should be no thinner than a pencil. So I'm going to keep reminding you of that because it's easy to kind of get carried away with the top of the bowl. You really want to make sure that it's not super thin in any area. Today your goal is to put the slab in the bowl, make sure it's as even as possible, and smooth it out. Now here you're going to see me taking the extra saran wrap and placing it inside the bowl, wrapping it in a way where the moisture will be kept inside. Next time I see you, we'll add our clay sculpture inside, and I'll show you some techniques to do that. So I want to keep the clay wet. I'm wrapping it up nicely, making sure that I'm not squishing anything that I don't want to change, and fixing it if I do. Please make sure your clay is wrapped up and your name, period, and day is on your bowl.